Our story revisited. We want to talk about the prophecies because this is not just any time. I mean, on March 3rd of 2026, all of the planets went into alignment, the blood moon, and and this was talked about in the Hopi prophecies 40 years ago. Sophie and I put on a peace conference in 1989 in San Francisco, and with nothing but the aim of bringing people of different faiths into a room so that we could just talk about the idea of peace and make that sort of a marching order in our lives. And it's very interesting when you create these kinds of conferences, the people that show up.
Sure.
Because what's crazy is there's always some prophecy keeper. There's always some shaman from one of the American native tribes that have a message.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we've produced one that hasn't had them.
Pretty much.
So anyway, we found a book where the actual written prophecies 40 years ago were done. So stay tuned for upcoming prophecy revealed episodes, because the one today, we want to talk about Don Alejandro Oxlaj, who was the first indigenous ambassador to the United Nations.
Right.
He was a Quiche Maya high priest and a 13th generation Quiche Maya. So we found some lost footage where we had the privilege of interviewing him at the Oakland airport. When, get this was very strange. When was that? 2008.
Yeah.
There was an object found in the Oakland Hills, and the Repatriation Act requires that native objects go to that tribe, and it was a Mayan object.
They were digging something for a building or something, and they found it. So he, being the elder, and he was the sort of the ambassador to all the indigenous tribes, especially for North and South America. And so he was the only one that could come, authenticate it and bury it, accept it, and then rebury it and give it to the nearby tribes that would be there. And anyway, it was just flying back to the airport, and we just found out from one of his assistants that he was going to be there, and we got a chance to sit with him for
So this little piece of footage we're about to share with you.
Right. And that was before 2012. So we had opportunities to ask him questions, because everybody was buzzing about, the Mayan calendar is ending, what's happening? And he gave us the most incredible answers and clarifying things. And anyway, we'll be sharing those with you in upcoming
beautiful little snippets that we want to share with you. But the thing that's interesting is the notion of peace, because right now, I don't think it's any accident that 40 years ago, the prophecy keepers came to these conferences and said, there will be a time in our future when all of the planets go into alignment and a new era of peace will reign. And so those of us that were the hopefuls, those of us that were the ceremony makers and the prophecy holders, the people that honored and cared for, these messages of love that came from these different cultures.
Right.
I mean,
and all of the, especially among the indigenous people, peace is not absence of war. I mean, it's one way of looking at it, but it's definitely not something that would be long lasting. It's something that we each have to nurture, develop, practice, so that the larger ecosystem, the planet itself, can then experience it. And we have to hold a space for it. And all of the indigenous and the Mayan and all these peace conferences, we were establishing these circles where it was only safe to come and share our commonality versus seeing our differences. And so there were many, many of these. And so much that today, most people are like, oh, I believe in Buddhism. I take the best of what I feel, feeds me and helps me deal with my daily, my daily stress.
There's much more religious synthesis.
Yeah.
Yes. Than there was back 40 years ago.
Yeah.
But what's interesting to us is that they said that this era of peace would be marked, and that the Mayan calendar was actually a marking point of the stars. And the reason why was because in the first Baktun, which is a 13-year period that began December 21st of 2012 and actually came to fruition coincidentally with an interstellar object arriving in our atmosphere called 3I Atlas.
Right.
And it just happened to coincide with the 13-year anniversary after the ending of the Mayan calendar. And I don't think that's an accident because their whole numerical system
Is it based like
is
that?
based on the tone,
That's right.
the 12-note musical scale,
Right. Right.
and what that means.
As a lunar.
And so these star alignments and this era of peace, the age of Aquarius that we've been on this trip about, I still believe with this war that we have the opportunity to change the paradigm completely.
Yes.
That if the Iranian people really are done with having religious autocracy and they're ready to have self-determination, that could literally change the balance of power across the world. It could initiate an era of peace.
That's right.
When I want to hold a vibration for that,
Absolutely.
I want to reach out to all of you and say, let's
hold a space for them to have that, to hold it self-determined, sovereign, moving forward.
Yes.
That's all we want. Every single one of us wants that. And we kind of have it internally. At a nation level, it's different, at large, the North American, North Atlantic and all the northern version, all of that, we each have to do within our own space.
But we've been exploring this notion. Are we just wearing rose-colored glasses? And are we trying to, just see the positive and not see all this ugliness that's dismantling everything we've ever built? And just because of the despair in option 2, we choose option 1.
Well, yeah, and there's also nothing lasts forever on Earth. There are time for, nothing is lasting forever. There's civilization go up and then they disappear. At the top, it's incredible, and then they're no longer there. So
Yeah.
since everything changes,
But when the power brokers come around,
true,
and the power brokers start messing with money and messing with the money systems and messing with politics and messing with whatever, at the end of the day, there were 3 things that really united all of the prophecies from the Maya, the Hopi, the Lakota, all the different tribes that we've done ceremony with, has been this alliance, because what they were told, all the prophecies seem to unite in these 3 ways. Number 1, we are one human family.
That's correct.
And in relation to the stars, we are one.
And we come from the stars.
And we must operate as one family. Number 2, that we are not only part of the Earth Mother, but that the Earth Mother is our mother.
That's right.
And we must respect and love and live in accordance with harmony of the earth and harmony with one another.
Right.
And that's just simple logic. And then number 3, that there would be a great celestial alignment where the sun itself may change.
Right.
And that would change time itself.
Right.
And that's what the Mayan calendars mapped. They mapped all of the star systems. They mapped Venus, they mapped Jupiter, they mapped Neptune, they mapped all of them, not in an astrological way, but in a vibrational way. Every day comes with an intent. And those days in their calendar is 5,200 years. A long arc of history.
Wow.
And since they were not allowed to write down their prophecies, it was oral.
That's right.
Tradition.
That's right.
Carefully given in ceremony, after a lot of preparation, after sweat lodges, after cleansing, after smudging, after permissions, after a synchronization act.
That's correct. For aligning the head and the heart.
Yeah.
For information to come down and for connecting with the ancestors also, that the wisdom from those that came before, and then connecting to their own wisdom.
So we want to share with you Don Alejandro Oxlaj. Let's hear from the 13th generation Quiche Maya spiritual elder, Maya high priest,
Yes.
Don Alejandro Oxlaj, as he introduces himself to all of us in a hope for peace.
¿Y usted puede compartir con nosotros este concepto de la tierra viva, la tierra sagrada, y cuál es lo mensaje lo más importante de compartir con el niño, de proteger.
Muchas gracias. En primer lugar, mi humilde respeto a todos los hermanos televidentes que nos ven a través de la pantalla. Yo soy Maya, yo soy la 13ª generación de mis ancestros. Yo vivo en mi propia cultura. Yo y mi esposa y los demás personas que me acompañan. También para ustedes, mi humilde respeto. Gracias por recoger nuestros mensajes. Para nosotros, el tiempo que hoy nos encontramos en la profecía de Maya nos dice, en el tiempo 12 Bactú, 13 Ajá, el regreso a los abuelos y el retorno a los aniversarios. Entonces es el tiempo que dio inicio en el año 1987. Entonces, cuando empezó 13 Bactú, 13 terminó los 12 Bactú. Entonces, con 13 Bactú, 13 Ajá, el regreso a los abuelos. Los abuelos aquellos que vinieron de la constelación de estrellas y regresaron otra vez a la constelación de estrellas. Pero dejaron sus palabras, dejaron sus enseñanzas, dejaron grandes profecías, cosas. Todo eso estaba oculto, estaba suspendido, como la semilla que está enterrada bajo la tierra. Ahora llega el tiempo y viene la lluvia y florece. Entonces así es nuestra cultura. En el tiempo 12 Bactún, 13 Bactún y 13 ahora. El regreso a los abuelos, la palabra, el mensaje, el conocimiento, las grandes escrituras que dejaron sus abuelos, es el tiempo que vuelve. El regreso a los abuelos. Y el retorno son los sabios. Son ustedes los de media comunicación, aunque no somos mayas, pero todos somos hijos de la tierra. Todos somos hermanos sobre la paz de la tierra.
So, what you just saw was rare private footage from our own vault.
That's right.
We actually just recovered that. And we had this unique experience to be able to sit down with the Mayan calendar keeper himself and ask him directly, because that was in 2008, before the 2012 hysteria that people were
It was building up.
freaking out
The
about.
anxiety was building up towards the 2012 date.
And I think what's beautiful about the Maya people, not what I think is beautiful about all Americans, the first peoples,
Mhm.
there's a respect and a reverence for Mother Nature, for the earth as a living,
Absolutely.
female, divine, feminine, unified pulse. And there's an identification of that pulse as with a metaphor of the grandmother.
Yes.
And what it means when the grandmothers are out in the field gathering the herbs and bringing the magic. And
They keep that connection with the Madre Tierra. So they're the grandmothers, but the earth, the Tierra, Madre Tierra is they all over Central South America. They
in North America,
North America too, but I mean, they mention it like children would, like in the Western world, we tell children, oh, the earth is like a mother. This is not a children tale. This is a relationship that goes through all of the life, not just for young people, all the way to the death, and that connection is never severed.
and the
And they've
circularity
been
of
a keeper of
community
that.
as well.
Right.
Because what's interesting in the Americas, they didn't have fortifications.
That's
There
true.
may have been great violence that has taken place between tribes in the
In
Americas.
some places probably, but not everywhere, because there is no
But
fortification of any kind.
there's never been a fortification. And so there's this, it's not that you don't protect your own and stay among your tribe.
Sure.
It's that this living in harmony with the earth is understood by all
That's right.
because everyone is part of it.
That's right.
It's sort of like the way the lion and the deer can drink at the same watering
The
hole.
water hole, which is a place of peace. But it's interesting. I grew up in France, so I'm of European descent. I do not have Native American as part of my lineage or my genealogy in some cases. But when I first came in America in 1981, that was a few years ago, and I discovered the wisdom and the different tribes and the different messages and all of that. I learned for the first time the expression "all my relations."
Yeah.
And it just made me I looked at it and I understood it at kind of a deeper level, of every being that walks is part of the circle of life. It's not my wife, my husband, my children, my home, my work and all that. If we only look at that, then everything else that's outside of that is outside of that circle. And that's why the white man, and when they came, had the disease of ownership, because they didn't see a circle that encompassed everything and everyone, those that came
They
before.
felt they had to keep something away from other
Right.
people,
And all
which is a
yeah.
fundamentally adversarial way
Right.
of being instead of a circular way of being.
Right. But think about it. If you were to close your eyes and say all my relations, all of the beings that I interact with, the little tiny one, the two-legged, four-legged, the winged one, just like they mentioned it, we have a relationship with them. We share our skies, we share our air, our
And our
water,
molecules.
and our molecules, right?
And the water.
Right. And so
You like to
it
say
changes
that
the whole thing.
I remember you saying that dinosaurs, the same rain that fell on dinosaurs is falling on us.
We're drinking the same water that they were drinking.
And so all of our ancestors as well.
Right.
And so there's this woman. Have you heard of this plasma girl? There's this girl. There's this girl out on the internet who's talking a lot about the plasma field as
Sure.
the fourth state of water.
Yeah.
And that perhaps there's this intelligence or even consciousness to water
Well,
itself.
Masaru Emoto, water has memory.
Right.
So if to have memory, there has to be intelligence. Why would anything try to retain information if it had no
But the
ability
native
to
people
use it?
knew this,
That's
and they
right.
worshipped this.
That's right. And the water was sacred. You didn't dump chemicals in the water. I mean, not that
And
they
you
were making
worship
them,
the
but
water in
that's
order
correct.
for it to nourish the tribe.
That's correct. And everything had its place, and the relationship with all of the elements of nature was in balance.
And that included star beings, because there's a lot of UFO activity in ancient tribal traditions.
Yeah.
And most of those traditions were orally communicated.
Yeah.
And they had a few petroglyphs
Yeah.
that were in different places of the Southwest.
Sure, they're
And they would
murals
use them
also.
as they
Yeah.
literally called them newspaper rock in Canyon de
Right.
Chelly.
Oh, yeah, a lot
And
of
it's
them.
literally where they tell about the ancestors through these petroglyphs.
And you could definitely tell from the shapes and the heads, and you could tell that they're coming sometime from the inner
And the
earth.
star people.
They're coming out from the earth out, and so.
And that's what's interesting about Native American traditions, especially the Hopi, because the Hopi have a origin story that is man was going to go through a great cataclysm that was going to cause a flood across the world, and that these people came that lived on the inside of the earth.
That's right.
And they almost look like ants, but they came and they helped these humans.
Right.
And brought them into their tunnels and saved them from this cataclysm.
Yes.
And so they have this origin story that out from the center
Right.
came the race of man.
Right.
And that there was a guardianship that they were expected to do of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And that meant 4 races of man together as one. And so the Hopi showed up at every peace conference.
Yep.
The Lakota, the Maya, the Navajo,
Zuni,
many people
tribes.
showed up.
But the Hopi
But the
especially.
Hopi were always there.
That's right. They were the anchor.
And the reason why is they were told that the earth is a living being, and that our responsibility as humans, particularly the tribal people of this land,
Mm-hmm.
is to hold
That's right.
Turtle Island, to hold the earth.
Right.
And to see to worship the heartbeat of the earth. That's why the drum is like
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, it's very much the heart.
Talk about heart math.
Yes. So when we lived in Boulder Creek in California in the Santa Cruz Mountains, there is an organization that's called the Heart Math Institute, and they've done a lot of scientific research into creating coherence between the brain and the heart. Some of that's done with breathing. And they were holding groups. They were all over the world, and it's been proved that when we create more coherence within ourselves, we sort of have an impact on the world around us. The crime rate goes down. But you could literally sort of measure that. There needs to be a certain amount of people. I don't know if it's
But electromagnetic
but we
frequency
do
was
affect
a
the
new
field
science.
around us, and we can auto-regulate ourselves. There's something like biofeedback where we can see what happens, and we can regulate ourselves so that when we have anxiety or things are happening, we can bring it back into place, coherence between this part, the head and the heart. And they opened sort of the way to a lot of the healing that happened, later on, the understanding of the way the mind works and integrating all of that, from almost from a scientific standpoint. But
They actually proved that the heart in the human is in sympathetic resonance with the heartbeat of the earth.
yes, that's
And
true.
that the earth is the Schumann resonance, and that we operate in harmony
Right.
with that heartbeat.
Yes, and we have to be, maybe a lot of diseases, because we're not calibrated to it.
And the drum brings you back to
That's
that.
right. You stomp your prayer. You enter it, and you can also release things that you don't want to hold into Mother Earth, and it will burn it, and it will kind of do its work of eliminating it. So then all of the Native American tribes knew that, and their ceremony always involved that. There
And
was
worship of all
walking.
four elements:
That's
the
right.
earth, the air, the wind, and the fire.
Because we're made of these elements. At the end of the day, they are us. They're not just outside of us. We're made of them. And so the more we calibrate and we're in respect to them, the better we're going to function and the more
So
harmonious
let's
we're
talk
going to
about
be.
Madre Tierra and Don Alejandro,
Yes.
because he spoke very beautifully about the what it means to be in harmony with nature.
Right.
So let's listen to him for a moment.
Let's see.
Don Alejandro.
Si entendemos nosotros la cultura de los mayas, nos enseña que nosotros los mayas, los seres vivientes que es la paz de la tierra, somos como flor de la tierra, de diferentes colores, de diferentes tamaños, de diferentes olores, por todo por sus pétalos mirando, comunicando hacia la constelación de estrellas y todos los astros mirándose. Así es la vida de nosotros. Nosotros los mayas y no mayas, indígenas y no indígenas, blancos y negros, de diferentes colores, de diferentes tamaños, de diferentes olores, de diferentes idiomas, de diferentes músicas, de diferentes cantos, reclamamos una sola creación. Una madre. Nosotros nos han tildado mucho, las religiones nos han tildado, que ellos dicen que no mienten, pero sí calumnian. Entonces, esa es la gran calumnia que nos han dicho, que nosotros somos politeístas, ¿no? Nosotros no somos politeístas, tenemos un solo creador. Le decimos nosotros, corazón del cielo, porque Él es el cielo. El corazón de la tierra es el mismo que te corazón del aire es que nos alimenta esa vida que estoy comunicando con ustedes, con energía, con una voz clara, pero el aire es la vida de todo. Y corazón del agua, porque en el agua vivimos todos seres que viven en el agua. Y así es que el agua la bebemos, se convierte sangre en nuestras venas. Entonces es el tiempo de hoy donde se puede tener lugar nuestros mensajes en cualquier rincones, en cualquier región del mundo. Lleva estos mensajes, porque los mayas no se han muerto, están vivos. Nosotros nos morimos al descanso, nos maten a descansar, volvemos a nacer. O es el tiempo, el regreso de los abuelos, o vuelvan otra vez sus palabras, vuelvan otra vez con su pueblo, vuelvan otra vez con sus hijos, vuelvan a la comunicación con su gente. Así es la razón que estamos hoy por acá, llevando un mensaje al mundo entero, donde nosotros hablamos. Ya no más contaminación, ya no más destrucción de la madre naturaleza. Ya no más perforaciones de exploración minera, ya no más ensayos nucleares, ya no más muertos. Seres humanos que entendemos el dolor ajeno, hecho pedazos por allá, la guerra transportando de un lugar a otro. Aquí viven para ellos en la gloria, pero lo que están causando es destruyendo al mundo por allá, donde revienta una bomba. Quedan nuestros hermanos sin brazos, ciegos, sin patas, todo es destrozado, se queda. Eso no nos importa, Pero todas las cosas tienen su tiempo. Lo que hoy sufrimos, mañana alegramos. Lo que hoy se sienten alegres, mañana llorarán. Todo tiene su tiempo. Pero antes que suceda eso, llamamos al mundo y llamamos a los hombres que sean conscientes que la visión de los mayas, cuando hablan hoy por la vida del pueblo, mañana por la vida de nuestros hijos, pasado mañana por los hijos de nuestros hijos, las futuras generaciones. Nuestros abuelos así hablaron.
Sí.
Estamos hoy aquí. Y así hablamos nosotros también. Que no solo hoy comemos, no solo hoy necesitamos el aire, no solo hoy necesitamos el agua, no solo hoy necesitamos ver nuestra madre tierra erosionada, ¿no? Las aguas están secas, todas las aguas contaminadas, los ríos contaminados. Aquí, en esta tierra de Norteamérica, no se ve. ¿Por qué? Porque aquí lo cuidan bien y todas las fábricas lo mandan a las naciones pequeñas,
Sí.
allá donde se ve la gran contaminación.
Sí.
Sí, aquí se cuida, pero toda la basura lo quieren poner lado.
Sí.
Así es lo más tristeza que en este mundo nos encontramos. Pero entendemos, somos seres humanos de igual valor y somos útiles a la patria, somos orgullo entre nosotros mismos.
Y
Tú y
los
yo somos
animales
hermanos.
también, los animales silvestres y todo, son hermanos, ¿no? En su tradición.
Para nosotros los mayas, nosotros todos los seres que están en la paz de la tierra, somos hermanos. Y los árboles, nosotros decimos nuestros ancianos árboles. Y los animales, todos son criaturas del Padre, son nuestros hermanos. La hermosura, la belleza, ellos buscan la vida para arriba y para abajo y lo persiguen. Y el mundo habla, queremos libertad, pero estamos persiguiendo a nuestros hermanos animales. Démosle libertad que viva y que vivamos juntos bajo un cielo lleno de esperanza.
So, what's so beautiful about these elders is that Don Alejandro is no longer with us. He's crossed the Rainbow Bridge already. He's an ancestor now.
Right.
And it's with great reverence and respect that we share with you his beautiful words, because we were thunderstruck when this coronal mass ejection happened on the sun. We remembered that brief 10 or 12 minutes that we had with this great man in the Oakland airport in 2008.
Right. Well, he was transiting.
Well, he was transiting, and he shared with us just this little piece, but the piece that thunderstruck us at the time was he was saying, no, you need to understand that it's not the earth that's going to go through great changes after December 21st of 2012. It's the sun.
Right.
And because the sun will change, time will change.
And the calendar must change to reflect that.
So let us share
Yes,
with
we will
you
be-
Don Alejandro's own words
That's right.
about the sun. Stay tuned.
Usted es el líder espiritual de los Quiche Maya. Y entonces puede compartir con nosotros y los telespectadores del calendarios maya y sus profecías sobre 2012 y todo eso. Hay mucho miedo de eso.
Muchas gracias. Pues yo soy anciano mayor dentro de los pueblos mayas. Entre nosotros, sí, soy líder, pero no solo yo, somos muchos. Está en cada etnia, nosotros somos 23 etnias de Guatemala, pero la nación maya empieza de la mayor parte de México, de Belice, de Guatemala, de El Salvador, de Honduras y una parte de Nicaragua. Y esa es la nación maya. Entonces la nación maya tiene su calendario. Tenemos 20 clases de calendario, pero entre todos los calendarios empezamos más, es el calendario solar, el calendario del de Solquín, Solquín de dice, pero es la misma palabra. King es una palabra azteca, y palabra maya. Entonces, es el calendario de un día o la cuenta de los días. Y tenemos un calendario, está llegando el tiempo, entonces encontramos el calendario de la cuenta larga de 5.200 años, es el que se va a cumplir en estos tiempos que vienen.
Entonces, ¿es el fin del mundo o no?
No, miren, hermano, muchos dicen para el año 1000 cosas, No estamos seguros. ¿Por qué no estamos seguros? Porque cuando llegue ese día, que cambio de sol. Eso es un periodo de sol. Se tiene que oscurecer la madre tierra por varias horas. Puede ser por 24 horas, por 48 horas, por 50 horas, más o menos, ¿verdad? Tiene que oscurecer. Y si llega el 2002 no sucede eso, pues dirán, los mayas están equivocados. No estamos equivocados. Los problemáticos que nos surgió así, hace 500 años, nuestros grandes maestros, nuestros grandes ancianos, todos los grandes sabios, todo esto se fueron al exterminio hace 500 años. Y después de esto, dejaron vino Diego de Landa, que monos libros. Y después de estos, vino a empezar a preparar su calendario, dieron cuenta que su calendario no sirve, entonces suspendieron un tiempo por medio, que creo que se dice por Chile de Nicea. Entonces de esos suspendieron, se perdió un montón de días por medio. Y después sacaron el calendario gregoriano, hoy nos estamos, mes de 28 días, de 29 días, 30 días, 31 días, terminan más de cabeza. Y así es por razones de eso, que nosotros no aseguramos hasta el 2002 o no. Pero no es fin del mundo, es un periodo, es un cambio de eso. Así es que le agradezco
Para
mucho.
prepararnos necesitamos meditar o
Meditar y
estar al paso,
tengan paciencia, por favor. Es que ya llegó el tiempo que me voy a ir.
Sí.
Mil gracias por la atención y todo. Mi humilde respeto a todos mis hermanos que nos ven a través de la televisión. Un mensaje del pueblo maya a todos ustedes. Y que no se tengan miedo. No, que amemos como Dios lo manda y esperamos el cambio de sol, que haber un cambio y que nos hermanamos más. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you for spending time with us on Her Story Revisited. If you enjoyed today's episode, follow the show, share it with someone else, and please subscribe. It really helps more people discover the podcast and the channel. Until the next time, stay curious, keep asking questions, and we'll see you soon.